righty. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of your Board of Commissioners. Tonight we have several interesting things. It looks to be a good meeting. Tonight the invocation will be given by Pastor Stephen Griffith with Osborne Baptist Church. I'll ask if you are able to stand, please stand and remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend.
Pray with me. Father, we come to you now in great need as a nation, as a state, as a county, and we trust you, Lord. Father, I thank you for these leaders who guide us in our county. I pray, Lord, that they use the integrity that you put in their hearts, Lord, to lead the people they represent. God, let them know that you love them, especially on those days when it's really hard and you never leave them. God, help us as a county, as a state, as a nation to honor you, Lord. We pray in your wonderful name, Jesus, amen.
Please remain standing. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be delivered by Miss Abigail Wall. Miss Wall, if you'll make your way forward. And she's 11 years old. She's a fifth grader at Dillard, and she likes playing volleyball. Ms. Wall.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Tonight, the first thing on our agenda is a recognition. I'll ask Commissioner Kevin Berger if he will speak to that.
Thank you. You know, we always look for opportunities to help a number of our citizens. And back in the fall, Justice Philberger, who is my brother, came to Rockingham County and presented a possibility for a court system that is a veteran court diversion program. That presentation was to several folks in the court system, and I believe at the time there were 8 other counties in North Carolina that had a similar program. We decided to find some money in order to help those veterans in our county that had some sort of run-in with law enforcement. So we found some seed money to get that program started and hired Miss Tammy Howell to be the coordinator of the program. So we became the 9th county in North Carolina to have such a program, and Miss Howell, along with some help from Kevin Southard with the Sheriff's Department, worked really hard to secure a grant for the Veteran Diversion Program. And I believe Rockingham County was one of 5 recipients of a grant from the Department of Justice, 5 throughout the country. That grant will allow us over the next 4 years to give veterans in Rockingham County that have some sort of brush with the law a second chance. We all know veterans who have come back from active duty or maybe inactive or maybe not combat duty, but time in the military, and they have a little bit of trouble readjusting to civilian life. And that difficulty may end up with some sort of brush with law enforcement. So under our consent agenda is acceptance of this grant. And tonight we have Justice Philberger. We also have Tammy Howell. Kevin Southard is here. Chris Freeman, who is the judge locally that agreed to hear such cases. Supporting Chris, although she was unable to make it, is Judge Erica Brandon. And I'm sure I'm going to leave somebody out. Our Register of Deeds, Ben Curtis, has agreed to give up some space in his office to house some of the people that are necessary for this program to operate. So it's with a tremendous amount of thanks from this board that these people have devoted so much time and effort in bringing this program to fruition. And we've got a number of these folks here tonight. If y'all would come down, y'all can also explain a little bit more to the public. I know Tammy might have something to say, or Abner Bullens as well may have something to say as far as how veterans can volunteer for the program and help others in need. So if y'all would come down for a photo. Guys, we can go up front. I believe Tammy can explain how to contact her office for those veterans that may be watching at home or family members that have veterans in their family that are watching at home that may want to volunteer as little as 5 minutes of their time a week. And there's other opportunities as well. So I'll hand it to Tammy.
Okay. Good afternoon. We are looking for veterans that would serve as mentors for our justice-involved veterans. So if you know somebody or if you are a veteran who is willing to give just a few minutes of your time each week, we don't want you to really do anything but just be somebody that will listen to the veterans. If they have a problem, just call and check on them. You know, are you okay? Or don't forget your drug test in the morning. Don't forget you have court. Just somebody that can somebody that's been in the same branch of the military that they have. So we need a lot of people, male, female, and somebody from all branches of the military. So if you know somebody that's been in the military or you yourself and you're willing to do that, I have a few cards with me tonight. I can give you a card if you just see me. I can just leave some up here. And we would love for you to work with them.
Thank you. Philip?
Good evening. My name is Phil Berger. I serve as an Associate Justice on the North Carolina Supreme Court. I was listening to a podcast one evening, and someone said something about helping veterans and got me in touch with a gentleman named Clark Pennington. Clark is with the Independence Fund, and he and Sarah Ferrardo and their group were instrumental in helping Rockingham County secure this $900,000 grant. It is designed to help veterans to give structure to the probation program, and between a 15 and 18-month period of supervision where veterans will basically be treated once again to more structure in their lives, more demanded of them than regular probationers, and hopefully put on a path to where they become more productive citizens, and we can repay them for all that they've done for our country and for our communities.
We thank Abner for really helping us with finding some space to start with and giving Tammy a place to work and helping us through that part of the process, and also being able and willing to give us a clerk to administer the program to.
It's a great, thank you, and it's a great program. It's going to help a lot of veterans. We've already been in touch with some veterans and helped them, even though we've not had our court date as of yet, which is coming pretty quickly. We have been in touch with a lot of veterans. Tammy has tracked this. I cannot brag enough about Tammy Howell and what she has done to get this to where we're at. I also got to thank the commissioners for funding Tammy's position, because we would have been waiting till now to have started this program to when we got the grant, but we were able to get started, and we're way ahead of the game. As soon as the grant gets into play, we can start running. Chris Freeman, our judge, Justice Berger, it all started with Justice Berger. He started all of this. He got us going. He brought the people down for the meeting. We, of course, we thank him for doing that. We had our meeting. And once we had our meeting, we was on go, and we ran with it. Tammy Howell, she's in my office. I am her supervisor. You don't have to supervise this young lady. She's a go-getter. She's made this program already what it is, and it's just going to keep flourishing. And we appreciate what's happened and us to be able to get to this point.
Chris, do you want to add anything?
Thank you all for being here. And Justice Berger told me about this, and we met with the Independence Fund. I knew it was something Rockingham County and all counties across the state would need. There's a great team of people up here. Not one of us done it by ourselves. Not one of us done it for ourselves. You know, I'm in the military, so it means a lot to me. But those folks sacrifice and give so much. And being in the court system as a prosecutor and a judge and looking out there, I always wished I could give back and give them an opportunity, because once they get through this, they're going to be some of our best volunteers. It's just part of the structure and the unit of military, and I know it'll be helpful. Thank you.
And the Independence Fund has already paid tremendous benefits here in Rockingham County. Since they have came up in the, I guess it was late fall for that presentation, we've had a few homeless veterans that needed some assistance. They dropped what they were doing, came to the county, spent a couple of days with those individuals in a hotel until they got the help that they needed through the VA. So, you know, having certain connections through life, I mean, that's how you get through life, and I'm just really glad that the connection that I've got with my brother, that able to help the citizens of Rockingham County. So, thank you. Do what?
We can just stay here for the next one.
Okay.
Susan's going to take a picture for us before we go down.
I took it.
Did you go over there and get some? Okay.
I got it. Yeah, got it.
Your links did.
I got some.
Very good. Thank you, guys. That's it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You have a particular time in your life?
Just call me some. Good to see you. Take care. Good to see you. Take care. Call me sometime tomorrow morning, anytime in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, the next item, we're going to let Lance
Okay.
read that recognition, and we appreciate those that are here. After that, we'll ask you guys to come up, and we'll take another photo op as well. Lance?
Sure. So this is a resolution honoring the dedicated public service of the Rockingham County Swift Water Rescue Team. Whereas North Carolina's western counties were historically and heavily impacted by Hurricane Helene, one of the largest hurricanes to make landfall in the continental U.S., with torrential rains, severe flooding, and landslides. And whereas search and rescue teams from numerous counties and other states have been sent out to the North Carolina mountains since this storm ravaged the cities, towns, and municipalities throughout western North Carolina. And whereas Rockingham County's Swiftwater Team Rescue was deployed on September 26th to Mitchell County, which is their first deployment to the mountains, where the team was stationed at the Parkway Fire Department, Spruce Pine, North Carolina, returning October the 3rd, 2024. And whereas out of the Rockingham County 20-member Swiftwater team, 6 members went to Spruce Pine, which included team leader Joel Fullerton from the Eden Rescue, Jason Wood, 911, and Eden Rescue Chief, Kristen Dixon, Eden Rescue, Mike Tasman, Madison Rescue, Christian London, Leaksville Fire, and Chris Kearns, Monroeton Fire. And whereas this team partnered with Davie County, doing welfare checks, rescued a cancer patient from his home, responded to emergencies, and moved displaced people across the river to find shelter. And whereas Rockingham County began the creation of the Swift Water Rescue Team in 2004, and after extensive training made their first deployment in 2006 in Stokes County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners that the Rockingham County Swift Water Rescue Team is hereby honored for their courageous and selfless public service to the citizens of Rockingham County, Western North Carolina, and wherever they may be called to serve. This the 21st day of October 24.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. Thank you, folks. If you'll come up.
And Jason's going to be your spokesperson. If you want to add to it, you can.
Yes, right. Stay right up here, you right in the middle. Come on.
I just want to say thanks to Rockingham County for allowing this team to go on. We train all the time but for disasters like this, and we just need to keep Western North Carolina in your thoughts and prayers. They've got a long way to go. It's a lot of destruction and a lot of devastation up there, and we just need to keep them in your thoughts and prayers moving forward for the next, it's going to be a while. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys.
I'll send that picture.
Whenever you come back.
They're still walking. Hey, Kathleen. Agenda.
Item 5 on our agenda is the approval of the October 21st agenda. Gentlemen, are there any changes, or if not, I'll accept a motion to accept it.
Motion.
Do we have a motion and a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Next item is our consent agenda. Now, items on the consent agenda are non-controversial items. However, if anyone has questions about the items, please contact Lance Metzler, our county manager. Gentlemen, are there any items that we want to remove from the consent agenda? Nothing heard. I'll accept a motion to approve.
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. We have an approved consent agenda. Next item is public comment, and we have no one signed up to speak tonight on public comment. So with that, that brings us to a presentation by our Sheriff Sam Page, update on jail inspections. We'd asked the sheriff to come and talk with us tonight. This is something that the state does on a regular basis. They come, they inspect the jail, they go over things, and we just had one a couple of weeks ago, so we wanted to see an instance of clarity and transparency to let everyone know where we stand. Thank you for being here, Sheriff.
Yes,
We
sir, Mr.
appreciate it.
Chairman. First of all, it's an honor to be here, and I'm glad to give you a report. We're going to kind of give you an overview, and then also, when we finish, if you have any questions, if I can't answer them, I know Captain Brown can. So I brought my jail administrator to help me out with those areas I might not know all the information. So again, at this time, I'm going to go ahead, and as you already stated, twice a year we get inspected by the North Carolina Jail Inspector under the Department of Health and Human Services, and they inspect different things throughout the jail. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and start with the presentation with Captain Brown, and then he'll go into some information from our last jail inspection. I will say that we have a 30-day response on a corrective action. So if we have any corrective action, we haven't totally responded back yet, but we'll have that in before the 30-day mark, and you'll get a copy also through the county manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. All right. First, staffing. We have currently 7 vacancies in the detention center. We hired one today, but I also got a 2-week notice today, so that put us right back at 7. Currently, I've got Lieutenant Stoltz on a night shift because I needed help on that night shift. They were down 4 officers. So he was pulled from his normal duties to go work night shift. See, we've had Tech 84 training to help us better figure out when someone's bringing something into the facility. So
For clarity, what is Tech 84?
Tech 84 is our body scan system that scans pretty much down to the bone. We found better ways to, I'll say, figure out something's anomaly pretty much with their scan. We've also implemented a suicide awareness in addition to our yearly training that is required to be a a certified detention officer. In order to become a certified detention officer, we have to go through a 5-week training. After that training, we have to take a state exam and pass it in order to become a certified detention officer. All that needs to be done within 1 year of employment. We also have body cameras. We actually added more body cameras to the detention facility. So now we have 1 body camera on every officer as well as 1 on each supervisor. Another thing we've done is every officer has Narcan on their belt now. So if someone has a medical emergency, there's always going to be Narcan. How many ever officers respond, that's how many doses of Narcan we have. We also implemented a daily report to our safety risk manager, Chris Elliott. Colonel Smith is tasked with notifying Chris Elliott every morning. In his absence, I do it.
So if any incidences that are need to be reported or even a potential for risk, we're notifying through these gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. As far as our nursing, inmate medical, and mental, we've got a EKG machine in the nurse's station. This will allow the nurse to get a rhythmic status of each patient, and that information can be taken to the hospital if that inmate needs to go to the hospital. Our hospital trips have been, I guess they've been up for this from July 1 until now. We've had 24 sent to the emergency room. 6 of those have been admitted to the hospital for a total of 13 days spent in the hospital. When someone goes to the hospital, it has to be a sworn officer that goes to sit with that particular inmate. Currently, I have 4 in the jail. So that takes away from our day-to-day duties, having to sit with someone at the hospital. Medical assistant treatment, we refer to it as the MAT program. Currently, we're continuing treatment, which is required by the ADA. We're hoping to go to where we will be going to a full-fledged MAT program once we get our nurses in place. Southern Health Partners is having an issue getting nurses hired or keeping the nurses that they have hired. We've had our contract signed and approved, and Southern Health Partners has asked us to give them to November the 1st to get the nurses in place to begin that.
And currently, right now, we have 2 nurses with the overlap, day shift, and November 1st, we're expecting to have our night shift coverage. So when we have intake, we'll be able to get a medical assessment as they come in from the inmates off the street.
That nursing program, that's the additional, what, 84,000 or 75,000?
That's correct.
That we
Yes.
approved earlier this year. Very good.
Mental health support. We have 2 Daymark employees on site Monday through Friday, 8 hours. They see suicidal inmates as well as inmates that have put in requests to speak to mental health. We also we utilize Central Regional Hospital via teleconferencing to see inmates as well. Those visits are pretty much, I'll say, authorized through the court system, and we will have to contact Central Regional to set up that visit. There's been a discussion about sick call and emergency. There's a difference. Sick call would be, I've got a headache or common cold. An emergency would be someone's passed out in the pod. A sick call would have to be put in. That's the only way we know about it. But emergency, we're going to go and handle the situation. We're going to make sure that they're getting the treatment that they deserve or that they need.
With that said, is we try to always put 2 inmates together, so an inmate kind of watches over that other inmate. It's worked very good, as long as they're getting along. And we also have an intercom system in the cell, so if there's something emergency and they hit that intercom, that's another way to alerting master control where we can get the ball rolling to get the person help.
Mental transports, I found this pretty interesting. Since July 1, we've had 107 mental transports for a total of 21,625 miles. The longest transport being a little over 9 hours. Once again, that's another thing that takes us off of our duties. When a mental health transport comes in, someone on jail staff will be taking them to their destination, wherever that may be.
That could be in the mountains, it could be in the coast, so it is a big draw on the resources, but we do try to make it work. I was going to say on another thing, okay, just say mental health transport. Okay, with the behavioral health urgent care also, we just recently went to some training there to get some updates, myself and Colonel Smith, and I'm hoping that that's going to take some of the burden off the involuntary commitments or people in, they're in stress and they're needing assistance, but may not need to be committed. Instead of tying somebody up at the hospital, we can route the person to the VO.
All right. Kitchen improvements or enhancements. We recently purchased a new tilt skillet. The one we had, it was practically, we weren't able to use it. There was an issue with the sensor in it. So we applied and got approval for purchase of a new skillet at $22,500.84. We also replaced ceiling tiles and vents inside the kitchen. We met with Summit Management, which is our food service provider, and we spoke to them on the importance of letting us know when there's an issue with equipment or anything in the kitchen so that we can be on top of it. We also do kitchen inspections nightly, and that's done by the sergeant on shift. One of the things that we were written up on our state exam is paint of cells. We have completed EPOD. EPOD is painted. The issue we're having now is our other housing units. With the numbers being so high, it's kind of hard to paint with someone in the cell. Basically, what we need to have happen is for a few cells to get empty so that we can paint those cells and then move inmates into those cells so we can paint the rest of the cells.
But the problem is we're hitting that capacity, and so we have nowhere to move them except to other jail facilities. And if we do that, even a small amount to give space, we're going to have to pay a daily rate.
Right.
And we figured this today, we could handle transportation issues because we got the vans, but the daily rate would be an additional cost that we have not budgeted for. I don't think we have the figures on that, but we can provide those to the county manager. That'll be okay.
So another thing we were written up on was the jockey pump. When we first moved into the facility, we didn't have the water tower that is over by the high school. We have since gotten the water tower, and that has helped with the water pressure inside the jail. We haven't used the jockey pump in years, and our water pressure is actually really good. We are working with the county engineer to take out that jockey pump, have maintenance to take it out and cap off the piping.
So if I can, so there's a possibility the jockey pump is not required.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
The jockey pump, so right now, before the PSI with the jockey pump was 34 PSI, and it's 61 PSI right now, which is plenty of capacity. So Mark Langle is going to write us a note so we can submit to the state, so they will allow us to take that off the list.
Okay.
So when the jail inspector comes through and says, this pump is not operational, we'll have a verification from our engineer.
All right. Another thing that we were written up on was our Sallyport gate. We have a purchase order in hand. The issue we're having right now is scheduling a time for custom garage doors to come out and fix the issue with our Sallyport gate.
Historically, we've had about a couple of times where emergency vehicles have exited without the gate being totally up, and so we've had to wait on the repair. Of course, during I think following COVID, we had to wait a while to get it where we could get it back down and stuff. But we do need to get that security issue taken care of.
Mm-hmm. We were also written up for light bulbs to, I guess, paint the picture for you, our ceiling is probably 30 feet high. We have 2 rows of 6 lights or light fixtures in each row. Inside those fixtures, there are 4 bulbs, okay? If one of those bulbs out, the inspector will write us up for it, okay? In order for us to change out that one light bulb, we have to get county maintenance to bring us a lift. We have to maneuver the lift to get it inside the pods, raise it up to change the light. So it's our practice to have a couple or a few lights out before we bother bringing a lift in.
And again, to be clear that even though you have a few lights out, it doesn't mean you're in darkness. But for jail standards, all lights have to be working. It just so happened the day they inspected we had the lift in there. We're preparatory to fix it, but, it was out.
Shower resurfacing. I actually spoke to the company today. He said they were booked up through the fall, and they would have us on the schedule for mid-December to have our showers resurfaced.
That's where all the paint peels and stuff like that because of the previous. Okay.
Hopefully December?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not for all the jail, that's not for all, it's just for 33, correct?
All the showers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Jail maintenance, we have a full-time and a part-time maintenance person to handle issues that arise in the jail.
What is their basic duties?
Changing lights, fixing toilets. They're the ones that have been painting,
Replacing the bulbs.
replacing bulbs, just general maintenance. It's a big topic, our rounds. Okay, I'm going to explain the rounds. Hopefully I can make it a little clearer for you all. We set our rounds at 30 minutes. The state says we have to do 2 rounds an hour, not to exceed 40 minutes. So currently our rounds are at 64%, but that's set at 30, okay? With a average late time of 5 minutes. So if we include that late time, we're only at 35 minutes. We're within the state standard of 40 minutes. Let's see. Yes. Since July, I've written up or counseled 7 officers for having late rounds.
And they've been giving in-service training on the importance of making these rounds and making sure that if you were to miss a round, to document the reason why, so that's presentable to the jail inspector when they come if they have any questions.
We do quarterly fire drills to ensure that a safe and efficient evacuation if need be. Thankfully, we haven't had to evacuate, but we do fire drills to make sure we're ready.
And once a year, we have to be, I think the fire marshal has to come in and certify that everything's working and it's standard.
All right. And on the front of cleanliness in the pod, we have trustees or inmate workers. They would clean the pods, and each inmate is required to clean their own cell or housing location. We supply cleaning supplies every day for the inmates to use while they're out walking. They're there for them to use to clean their cells. Right now, we're spraying the showers. Hopefully, after we get it resurfaced, they won't have to be sprayed as often. Just the normal cleaning from the inmates should do the job.
And I do want to add a thing about the shower. Lance, as you know, we went out and visited the youth center. What's the first thing we saw in the showers? Stainless steel. They started doing these inserts after our jail was built 14 years ago. They started doing this, and so we didn't get the inserts. So now they have to do a special epoxy, and that's what they'll be doing in December. Everything stays on point.
That's all I have.
Gentlemen?
Thank you, Captain Graham. Gentlemen, do we have any questions? All right, I'll recognize Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. What sort of lights do we use? Do we have modern LEDs, long-lived lights to reduce the frequency of outage?
No, sir. We currently use the fluorescent light bulbs.
With ballast?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Powell?
Yeah, so how many lights do y'all have in the jail? Do you know roughly?
I'd be honest with you, I have to do a
I have
count.
it, yeah.
It's pretty much, you go through, you got your emergency exit lights, you got to make sure all those got their lights. The lights in the cells have to be clear where you can see the inmates at all times. You've got lights all over, but that is part of the situation, is just checking, doing your daily checks and making sure that if you do see something, go ahead and write it down so we can get it corrected before an inspection. And you never know when a light bulb's going to go out.
No, the reason I was asking that was, would it make sense to have a supply of light bulbs, and let's make this a twice-a-year thing where you just change every light bulb in there?
I'm
Or
glad you brought that up, and it makes a lot of sense of maintaining an inventory. We saw this during COVID, that the supply chain, and plus having it available to change out. The biggest thing, what we talked about with the high-up lights, is, again, replacing those. Yeah, you can put them on probably do that on a 6-month cycle, and that might be a good solution.
let me ask one other thing, Mr. County Manager.
Yes, sir.
I believe that those fluorescent lights can be converted to LEDs pretty simply. Would that be something we could check into and see what
Yes,
the
sir.
cost of that would be?
Yes, sir.
Anything to help us on that?
Yeah, and so let me ask you another thing. I've looked at both of these, jail inspections, and let me just say that we pulled some reports on doing your checks. It looks like you have improved that significantly, so congratulations on that. But let me ask you one thing. When you said that your standard's 30 minutes and the state standard's 40 minutes.
No more than 40.
Yeah, are they inspecting you and grading you, if that's the right word, on your policy or their policy?
That's Department of Health and Human Services standards. We have to.
But there's 40 minutes, right? You're saying you want.
We're doing it shorter so we can stay under that. If you get held up, you can stay under.
So if they find a deficiency on one of your checks, it's going to be based on the 40 minutes. So they're going to find you over 40. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And then the other thing is that I wanted to ask you is I look at this, I see a lot of items on these things that's maintenance issues. I mean, and so I realize that a light bulb can burn out while the inspector's standing there looking at it. I got that. But, it appears to me that you may be better served in our ability to help you on some of this. Maybe you would be better served if the maintenance position was under the county maintenance department, where we had more people that could go in and out of there to look at the issues or to inspect and help get those things fixed, rather than having your own maintenance people in part of your maintenance budget. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, from looking at it, I think we still need our internal maintenance and cleanup crew, but a lot of times, and I'll tell you, a lot of times we do call on county maintenance to help us on projects that are going to be taking a long time, and they have the expertise. Yes, sir.
Now, is the person that is working maintenance for you, is he a maintenance person or is he a janitor? Which way is he being used?
No, he's maintenance, but they do details also, but generally he helps us on maintenance issues, so he runs pretty heavy.
Okay. And so when we see these, and keep in mind, Sheriff, I'm trying to come to a solution to help you.
Absolutely.
But when we see these maintenance issues on two different reports, some of them are the same thing, but they may not be the same light bulb, okay? I understand that. But when we start talking about the maintenance issues, it appears to me that it would be pretty simple for a maintenance person to see that the ceiling tile's out and replace it. I mean, it takes about 5 minutes. So I'm confused as to why some of these maintenance issues are appearing on there if somebody's actually checking that on a daily or even a weekly basis,
I think on some of the minor maintenance is we put it on schedule to get it done and then order the product and put it up. Again, the maintenance guys, they're running full blast, and any extra help would be beneficial, I think.
Okay.
But I think you make a great point.
And then I guess one of the last things, I see the graffiti, and you and I have talked about this, on outside of here. What are we doing to address that? Because some of the graffiti that I've seen, I think we've got some pictures of it, But some of the graffiti I've seen actually shows a lot of talent if it wasn't being on the jail wall. And it looks like it probably takes more than 30 minutes to do the work. So what are we doing about trying to stop that?
Well, obviously, if we see damage, there's not a jail in Rockingham County or in North Carolina that doesn't have graffiti. I know there are some jails that do regular painting. The bigger jails, I guess, have the staff and ability to do that, have a crew to do that. We don't. So like I said, what you're talking about with maintenance, having the help there, we'll charge the person if we can, but the biggest problem we've seen where damage is done is in the sprinkler head system. We talk about this, having extra sprinkler heads so you can replace it. But when we can prove that a person did that, because generally only one or two people in the room, we will do that and we'll charge them and get them a court date set.
Now, do you take privileges away from them? Because I think they have some privileges
Yes,
in the
sir.
jail.
There's a process to remove privileges. If you do certain things, yes, you can definitely have some privileges removed.
All right, and so my last question goes to some of the stuff in your budget concerning the jail. I know we've talked about your showers are being replaced. Is that coming out of your operating budget, or where does that come out of? Do you know?
Jennifer? Let me call finance up here. Jennifer, come on up. Jennifer Brown, our administrative captain, please.
Good evening. Yes, we requested the shower project in the budget, so it was a capital improvement project for the shower. So that's how we do when we were aware of big things, we try to ask for it in the budget and plan ahead.
So it's not in the operating budget?
No, sir.
No.
That was not.
Okay.
And then also, you've got an upgrade to a computer system or something to operate the jail doors. Is it?
I'm not sure which budget it comes from, but I do know that we're up for an updated touchscreen system. That's what's used to open the doors.
Yeah, okay. And
Tammy with IT helps us with those projects.
okay, and I believe that's coming out of your capital fund as well.
Actually, that's coming from the IT budget.
It's IT, that's right. Okay. And then the last thing I think I remember seeing was we're replacing some jail, that's maybe an H block, the jail doors where they've kicked them and they're bent and they're not operating.
Is it food tray doors?
Yes.
Yeah, they slam them and stuff. We try to get a handle of that, but they're steel and they will sometimes get out of whack.
So the stuff that's in your capital fund, I think totals up to about $500,000 that we're spending over there on the jail. That does not cut your budget. It doesn't come out of your budget. That comes out of the county's portion that we put in that capital fund, and then we determine which projects need to be fixed. Right, okay.
Capital projects, thank you.
All right. Well, I think that does me for right now, unless I think of something.
You have a question? Commissioner Berger?
So, I believe the previous report was back dated April the 15th, and I think it was shared with us sometime around the 1st of September. And then I believe on September the 6th, I sent an email to the county manager, because one of the things on there was a sprinkler head that you mentioned a little bit ago. And I believe the reasoning for that was provided to the state, if I can find it, I believe you were waiting on that part to come in.
I think it's back to what Mr. Powell said, is trying to stock a few of those extras. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But I believe I asked the county manager on the 6th because it indicated that those were ordered through maintenance. And I reached out to the county manager, and you checked with maintenance, and do you recall what their response was about ordering a part?
Hadn't ordered it yet because he hadn't gotten the request for it, so he went ahead and ordered that and several other ones.
Yeah. So there seems to be a disconnect as far as the responses to the state and what's being communicated or a record of any communication to the maintenance department. And
You're speaking about in April.
the April report, and then September the 6th asking whether or not it had been fixed, the response you gave to the state, and any records that the county had.
It's already been ordered. Okay.
Yeah, your folks thought somebody was supposed to order it, but there's no record of there ever being a request. And so there's definitely a disconnect. There's some missing information
Well, I
there.
think it's an exception to the rule. I think if we got something missing like that, it's not like it's an intentional every day we miss something. I can't give you an answer for that, sir.
Right, but I think it was the same thing with the scissor truck. As far as replacing some of the lights, it had not been requested at that point in time, and so they had not been fixed. And so there's obviously a breakdown as far as what some of, I don't know who makes the request to maintenance, but it kind of gets to what Commissioner Powell said as far as getting all that centralized, because there is a significant breakdown between what your folks think is supposed to be happening and any record of any communication for something to actually occur. So that record keeping is not there, which from a liability standpoint can be a significant issue and has been a significant issue in the past.
And I think that easily can be corrected with communications and looking into what was recommended by the commissioners.
Yeah.
If that's sufficient.
And then I've just got a question as far as I believe Commissioner Hall mentioned the nurse and the expense of the nurse. I know the Sheriff's Department budget increased about $1.6 million from last year, 1.5 to 1.6 million from last year, which was about 1.3 pennies on the tax rate. Was that nurse included in that increase, or is that separate money?
I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure that's separate. That was above and beyond. That was after we had budgeted for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're actually probably dealing with closer to 1.7, and I believe the capital improvements not in there as a $500,000. So we've got close to 2 cents on the tax rate increase based on increases in the Sheriff's Department. Is that right?
Pretty close. That 342 is actually, the other parts included minus the 342.
Okay.
So.
And over the last, I don't know, 8 years, I believe it is, how much has the Sheriff's Department budget increased?
Around a little over 6 million.
It's about a 50% increase. Is that right?
Well, sir, we do have, I don't have any numbers in front of me. I'll just say this, is we do have increases. We do have our employee increases, our salary increases, and of course, you've stated some capital increases, some foreseen and some unforeseen. And
Sure.
that's why we're coming before you
Sure.
today to let you know that, like on that situation with the painting issue and stuff like that, is we're going to need assistance.
And
I think that's being honest, because
Sure.
I'm sure we've had graffiti on those walls for 14 years, but with the jail inspector and their intensity on correcting that, and with your concerns and my concerns, we want to do that.
And you mentioned that when you know who it is, you'll charge them. I checked with the district attorney, and they can't recall a charge being made. When was the last time somebody was charged?
I'd have to check with the detective division. They generally come in and help us on the charges.
Okay. And we keep hearing about graffiti. How extensive is it?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. It's art. It's probably in every cell. I look in, I see. But again, we're trying to correct that, and we're asking for your help to help us do so, so we're in compliance and meeting those standards.
Okay. And some of it's outside the cells as well, is that right? There's some that appears to be outside. There's some sunlight as well. There's some sunlight in some photographs, so I'm assuming that's outside on cinder block.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
It may be the dormitory.
It's the rec yard. So they have used soap to, I'll say, mark the walls. And I myself have went out with a pressure washer and tried to wash it off, and that just made it worse. How to get soap off a concrete wall, I'm not
Soap?
aware. Yes, they use the bar soap that we issue them.
Can we show some photographs? Can we let people in so they can see what we're talking about, so they can get a visual?
We can authorize people in to see in our jail.
We've got some photographs, do we not? So, I mean, I think it's the people's property.
I have no problem with it, sir. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying is, if you want to show photographs, that's fine. But we're stating tonight that we're trying to correct these issues, so we're in compliance,
Right.
okay? So arguing over graffiti, is, we can argue that all night. I just want to correct it.
Oh, we do too. And I mean,
Okay,
so-
okay, I'm sorry.
He's popped some up. So people can see where their tax dollars are going as far as having to paint the inside of the cells
So that
and
is,
the rec walls.
that is actually inside of a cell. And it's probably going to be towards the end of the cell block because there's sunlight coming in through the rec yard.
Natural light.
Right. You got,
That appears to be the same cell. That was the rec yard. And
That's after you tried to clean it.
I want to say that's the dorm, and I tried to clean there.
okay.
Just got to try a different detergent, I guess.
Lance, you went real fast through
I don't
those.
have control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Some of those.
There's some artistes there, and some not so.
Right.
He'll probably cover it.
So I take it with these extensive drawings with those 30-minute rounds, we never saw them doing it.
I'm not aware of that.
Is that a TV? I couldn't tell what it was.
Can you go back, Lance? Go back, Lance, go back.
Yeah, okay.
Roy or Allison? There you go, right there.
Light and power.
It looks like it is inside of a cell, most definitely, because I see the toilet fixture.
Right.
I'm not really sure if maybe that's a reflection off the glass.
That's what I want to say.
Because we have a camera out, and we have a TV outside, one TV for
I got you.
everyone to look at. It looks like a TV.
Thank you.
There was no TV in there. No cable in there.
Okay, so this is, I know you got different pods. Are these in different pods, same pod?
I
What?
can't tell by looking at them, but I can tell you that they're not E-Pod.
Pretty extensive. That looks like we're
They're
back at the
painted
beginning.
E-Pond has totally been painted, so you got F, G, and H, those are the last three ponds.
So we're trying to get to where, although we've missed being able to charge folks, we're trying to get to where it doesn't show up on a report, and hopefully we charge folks in the future. I would hope that if they did this to other county property, they'd be charged.
That's our goal, yes, sir.
Yes, okay. All right.
Commissioner Powell?
Sheriff, what's the cost on painting a H-pod? Do we know? Do you know what the cost is on it?
Can you give a rough?
I've
rough.
pulled
I'm not
numbers
gonna-
as far as moving an inmate, or moving inmates.
I just want to know the physical cost to paint that pod.
I do not know. We used our maintenance men to paint it.
So would it be prudent for us to put that on some kind of rotation too? I mean, if we know we're replacing HVAC units every 10 years,
I think it's a great idea.
yeah, just put painting, and so that we include that either in the capital or the budget. I think it's got to be over 50,000 before it gets on the capital plan, but, maybe we include it in your budget or some, so that we can do it. Or if we end up moving the maintenance out of your budget, then we put it in the maintenance for it, so that we can do that every so often.
If they could do a rotation, but you still got to deal with the dynamic of moving inmates, because we don't foresee a shortage of inmates.
Well, that was going to be my second thing. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to wait until you get slack on customers to paint, but it's not going to happen. I mean, we might as well quit fooling ourselves. You stay at capacity most of the time, all right?
That's why we.
So I would suggest that we look at what the cost is to move them and get this stuff cleaned up, painted, and make this thing look, because that looks really bad for the citizens.
Exactly.
And so-
Currently, this year, we're doing the H-Pod, so they'll move all H-Pod to another facility so we can replace the doors and paint at the same time, because they can't have the doors open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the other ones, maybe an idea could be, we could free up 2 or 3
Partial.
pods and then send them somewhere, paint, bring them back, and then,
If
that way.
the more you move, the better, but also it depends on, we saw this with the storms up in the western area, moving inmates out. Everybody's kind of like, I'm full,
Yeah.
but I think we can find some pretty close where if we handle transportation, we just got to figure the cost, like Don said, on the materials, and also we can get put on a rotation. And we start moving a little bit out. If we move half a pod out and do that, and then, but you got to give a couple day dry time too.
if Wendell, if y'all will kind of work with us, I'll work with the commissioners to come up with some fun strategies.
Let me ask you this, if you're gonna move them to do H-pod anyway, why can't you just keep them out a little bit longer and move another pod into H when it's ready and then do that one, so you could get two of them?
Well, H-Pod might have, just say, 12 different pods in it, and if you're keeping, if it's $55 a day, then you're going to be paying $55 a day for,
Times 48.
yeah, so if you have four out per time for two pods, it'd be a lot less money for the county.
Well, what I was thinking about is the transportation. If you keep the same pod out for a little longer where you can just move them internally, then you save on your transportation costs when you're down 7 jailers too.
That's a good point.
Would it be possible we could get with Derek or someone to help us kind of work together on that to try to just hone that down?
We'll talk with Ronnie tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I was prepared tonight to make a motion to move your maintenance positions and your maintenance costs to the county, but I'm going to hold off on that and ask you and the county manager to discuss that. I think it would be fair to you to give you some time to discuss that with him to see how that affects other aspects of your operation. But, you know, we're just interested in trying to help you get this done.
Thank you.
So,
And I appreciate you.
yeah, so, I mean, no offense on any of the questions that I've asked, but I can just tell you, we want to get this taken care of as expediently as possible and see if we can keep handle on it going forward in the future.
Commissioner Richardson, you had a question?
Well, I do, and this is strictly for my own knowledge. I do not care to be an expert in incarceration of folks, but as I go through this fairly extensive report, you know, and we agreed that graffiti and other things are unsightly and it doesn't look as hygienic. Is there a measure of how these various discrepancies, does the state give it an A, B, or C as far as safety or hygiene or criteria that's more important than just physical appearance? Are you following me on that?
Do they grade it? I think there's just.
Yes, it's just, if it's a deficiency, it's a
If it's
deficiency.
deficient.
We want your facility to do the job, and I understand you got to prioritize sometimes, and he has to prioritize money sometime. And do you have an idea of your flexibility in doing the order, the priority of these things?
I think the painting was probably the low income, getting the doors, getting all those things fixed, getting other capital items fixed, I think were the priority. But again, like Mr. Powell said, getting a fresh start and getting it cleaned up would be great.
What you're saying that, yeah, we want to fix everything, but there's really no safety or sanitation problem as we're operating today.
I agree. I think I say yes. I think it's unsightly, as it's been said, but, you know, it is what it is. Good question, though.
Commissioner Berger?
Yeah, and I believe, you know, we talk about the sprinkler heads. Is it the same type of sprinkler head that's in the rest of the courthouse, or are they different types of sprinkler heads, or I don't know?
If I can speak to that, I know we don't work around the jail all the time, but when they first built the jail, we noticed that it's a recessed sprinkler head, but it has to be a certain way it can go out so it can spray the area if there's a fire and detect it in there, in the cell. I went to the engineer, the designer, architect, and said, look, is there a better tamper-proof, tamper-resistant type sprinkler head? They said, Sheriff, you got the best at the time when it went in. When I talked to sheriffs all around the state, we all had the same conversation, tampering with these daggum sprinkler heads. Now, I did see in Pitt County where their fire marshal apparently worked with them, and it apparently proved the muster in the state, but they actually had a cage built over the sprinkler head that did not interrupt the spray. But if they can pick it, they can pop it open, and then it activates the system. And that's, unfortunately, That's the weakest link in the whole jail system, is sprinkler head system.
To a one-10 source.
So that caused a problem when I was on the Eastern Shore because people could use the, as a,
Yeah, so then you get to create another problem. But in essence, that's the best sprinkler head that I know of that can be put in there. I did make a recommendation on engineering, instead of putting the sprinkler heads, I'm not an architect, instead of putting them straight out where a person can do like this, I said, if you had a little bit of increase in the height in that jail cell and had an overhead, it's a lot more awkward to do this than it is right here.
Right.
Pick at it.
Well, I asked that because it is required by fire code to have spare available. So, we do have to, from a liability standpoint, as Commissioner Powell mentioned, order those spare parts. And that's really what this all boils down to is the protecting the tax dollar, because it costs the taxpayers a lot of money with the insurance increases. And that's why all of this is necessary. I mean, we've got to make sure moving forward, and we've already increased the Sheriff's Department budget significantly, and then had to do some even after the budget, or chose to do some after the budget. But with the substantial increase in deductibles, substantial increase in premiums, we've got to make sure moving forward that we try to bring that down to protect the taxpayer, because that increase this year was, as far as the premium increase, I know the deductible increase went from $10,000 to $200,000 to $50,000. Okay.
And $190,000 additional premium.
Premium. So, I mean, we're talking about pennies and pennies and pennies on tax rates, and, I mean, that's substantial.
You're preaching to the choir. I think, I understand the monetary issue. I want you to understand this. I have a duty and obligation to try to maintain a safe and secure facility.
Yes.
Protects the tax dollars, protects the staff, protect the inmates. I'm doing, and I'm going to do my best to continue doing that. And where we see deficiencies, we're going to improve on it. And we're going to get it right where that insurance rate goes down, and we're where we want to be, and citizens are still safe, and you're satisfied with those dollars we're spending. We're making sure we're getting our money's worth, and that's what we're going to continue doing. And I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not me. Sheriff, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Captain Wendell Brown. Thank you, Captain Jennifer Brown. Thank you, Lieutenant Smith. We appreciate everyone being here tonight. Thank you for this report. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank
Not an easy job, fellas. Not an easy job.
Do,
Colonel Smith.
I'm sorry, Colonel Smith. I apologize. I apologize. Yeah, you're right. All right, next item on our agenda is public hearing. Hiram Marziano. We want to take a break? Are we okay? Good evening. Yes, sir.
Good evening. How are y'all doing tonight?
Well, thank you.
First up, we have, this is rezoning case 2024-14. This is a request to rezone 3 acres of land from a combined residential agricultural and residential protected to combined highway commercial and residential mixed. We'll see on the maps in a second, but this is roughly 135, 140 acres of land, north side and south side of Gold Hill Road. Is represented by these 3 tax pins in the New Bethel Township. This is a standard rezoning, and at their planning board meeting in September, the planning board voted citing consistency and reasonableness 7-0 to recommend approval of this request. We're in our southwestern quadrant of the county with this request. Zoning here, kind of zoomed out a little bit because of the size of the parcels and wanted to get an area feel of everything here, but the north tract's all residential agricultural. It's the southern tract that has some residential protected right along Gold Hill Road, but the remainder of that tract is residential agricultural currently. It is surrounded by residential protected, which are some large-scale residential subdivisions. It's also right off of Highway 220, which has several highway commercial and light industrial segments. This is the land use map. You'll notice that it is primarily in our G3 corridor, calling for intense development and high growth. There's a little bit of segment, it's about a third of the southern tract of land. This is in the G2 corridor, which still still compliant with having medium density housing and development. Sorry, lost my bearing here a second. This is just a quick overview showing you a little bit of the environmental and the properties. The dark outline's kind of hard to see on this map. I apologize for that. And then just so you can see, it's that southern track right there, right with the curve heading back towards 220 to the west. That will be the requested about 10 acres of highway commercial, with the remainder of that southern tract being residential mixed. So it's right there. I'll show you back here on the zoning map real quick. That highway commercial will directly abut an existing light industrial parcel in that general vicinity as well, all of which is still in that G3 corridor. So if there's any questions, we found this to be compliant with the land use plan and reasonable for the growth and development in the existing area.
Gentlemen, do we have any questions?
Just a quick one. Is the farm pond and the southern portion of that going to be retained?
That would probably be discussed during the any kind of a development, because they would have to comply with the DEQ standards at that point due to the size of it. There would still be a 30-foot mandatory buffer around the pond unless they want to repurpose and relocate. Those would be possible options.
Very good. Any questions, gentlemen? Let me open the public hearing. With that, we'll open the public hearing. And we have no one signed up to speak. If the applicant is here, would you like to speak? Harry, if you wait just one moment, I'll ask our county attorney to go over the guidelines. And we have you, and then on another public hearing, we have the applicant who has signed up to speak as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant or his designee will be allotted 15 minutes to present their proposal. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, the public will have an opportunity to speak regarding the proposal. Any public person who's signed up to speak will have 3 minutes to speak or can yield his or her time. From another individual, however, no one individual will have more than 6 minutes collectively. And then there's a 30-minute time limit for public comments. And then the applicant come to the podium, state your name and address, as well as each speaker. And once the public speakers have had an opportunity to voice either in favor or against the proposal, the applicant has an additional 7 minutes to provide a rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albright. With that, Mr. Rakestraw, if you'll give us your name and address.
3 Fox Farm Road, Reedsville, North Carolina.
You've got 15 minutes.
Okay, real quick, Marcia said most of it. I appreciate y'all hearing my rezoning case tonight. Of course, this is just to follow the plan for the county for that area that they've had for a long time. And I mainly just wanted to come up and see if you had any questions for me.
Very good. Well, we'll hang on if anybody doesn't. Let me close the public hearing at this point. We've closed the hearing. Gentlemen, do we have questions for the applicant or for the department? Any questions? No questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. Congratulations, Mr. Rakestraw. Mr. Marziano, item B.
This is rezoning case 2024-20. This is a request to rezone property from residential agricultural to rural commercial conditional district. The currently is located at 1122 Perkinson Road. I don't say currently because it's not moving. This is in the Ruffin Township. This is a conditional rezoning and citing consistency with the land use plan and reasonableness for the character of the area. The planning board did vote 7-0 to recommend approval of this request. We are up in our northeastern quadrant of the county. As you can see from the zoning map here, it's largely residential agricultural. There is a little bit of residential protected south of this property down the road. Just a quick aerial and land use. This is our O2 land class, which does call for more rural characteristics, no water, no sewer. Does make appropriate that some small shops and stores would be consistent where either prior existing, this is about being the case for this one, or when we convert to rural commercial. And here is just the shop of the current conditions of the parcel. You'll note that the building is technically non-conforming, but it is legally non-conforming. So there's no issues there. It's been there since before we had zoning. They could not expand to the north and east, but anything further on the rear of the property would be fine.
Margie, when you say it's legally non-conforming, would we typically refer to that as being grandfathered,
Yeah,
if you will?
the layman term would be grandfathered. We just don't like to use it professionally. Sorry.
I understand. I just want to be sure everyone understands what you're saying.
The structure is grandfathered in based on the time of period when it was developed.
Thank you.
You have them. Again, like I said, this is the O2 land class.
Let me go and open the public hearing at this point. And we have Mr. Robbie Overby has signed up to speak. Mr. Overby, I trust you heard the guidelines that our attorney set forth. If you'll come to the podium, give your name and address, you'll have 15 minutes to plead your case.
I'm Robbie Overby. I live at 1565 Perkinson Road, Ruffin, North Carolina. It's about a mile from the shop. Basically, I purchased a machine shop that was located on Ashley Loop Road in Reedsville, and I'm moving it to my facility, and I plan on taking his clientele. He's got customer base that he done work for, and I'm just looking for the future. The shop has 3-phase power. It had a small machine shop there, and I moved everything out and just upgrading basically to more modern machinery, and just looking for the future to make sure everything's legal, because right now it's residential and farm use. So that's it. I was looking for the future and make sure everything's legal, and as I go forward, I want to add on whatever.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Overby. If we have questions, we may call you back, but thank you for being here. With that, we've had no one else sign up to speak on this tonight, so we'll close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do we have any questions or comments for either the staff or the applicant?
I've got one.
Yeah, Commissioner Powell?
To the applicant, I believe you indicated that you had machinery in there now for a machine shop? Yes, sir. Come back up, please, sir.
Yes, my uncle owned a shop, and had a big farm he pretty much took care of, and he was a machinist also, and he had some manual machines that I've sold some of the equipment, had it moved out already to make room for the new modern equipment.
This building was used as a machine shop for some, either farm or
Hobby shop.
neighbors or?
Yeah, my uncle, he owned it he passed away about 8-9 years ago. And prior to that, he worked on the tractors, anything, he had bulldozers, stuff like that. He owned pretty much property, and any machine work that needed to be done, if welding, new parts made for the tractors, whatever.
Okay.
And he used it as a shop in that sense, so.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes, sir. I just had a quick question for you, just if you could verify. I believe when I was watching the planning board meeting, did I overhear you say that you do some contract work for Isometrics and some local businesses here? Is that correct?
Yes, I have contracts with Evonik in Greensboro, a chemical company. They just to keep their machines up. They got parts from Germany, and I make some consumable parts for them for their machinery. And I have Isometrics sent me some prints to also do some work with them. They're looking for a local shop. They was using on Ashley Loop Road, but I purchased all his equipment, and I done a small business loan and purchased all the equipment, got approved through the bank, done all that, and
I'm just getting at, so you're helping us with some of our local businesses here, is that correct?
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
Very good, thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Overby. Marzie?
Finally, we have case, this is rezoning case 2024-21. This is just a request to amend the allowed uses under an existing highway commercial conditional district. The property is located at 2554 US Highway 220. It's the, I don't remember what type of gas station it used to be, but it's the rundown.
It was a BP at one time.
It's in the Huntsville Township. This is technically conditional rezoning and citing consistency with our plans and reasonableness to the nature of the property. The planning board voted to recommend 7-0 for this request. Southeast quadrant. Zoning here, you'll note the red there is the highway commercial. The light blue line, I apologize for that. The selections have changed on our maps. Is the parcel right there. It's on the corner of Wanda Road. It's odd shaped largely for its septic system. So the size and nature of the property itself will limit any of the more intensive uses. And they also pared down the highway commercial uses. Currently, it can only be a gas station. The applicant specifically wants to do auto and golf cart sales, but wants to leave a possibility open if should he ever have to sell the property, the next person doesn't have to go through the same process to try to meet something out. It is very indicative of the area to be, it's a mixture of, our 220 corridor is a mixture of residential and commercial up and down. It isn't directly in the G3 corridor, which calls for this type of intense use. And just, whoops, this is the one we should be at. This is the zoomed in of the current parcel. Our land use plan does request that we try to support existing commercial properties to be redeveloped to future commercial endeavors. So this has been compliant with our land use plan. Right.
Appreciate it. And with that, we will open the public hearing for this issue. And we have no one signed up to speak. Is the applicant here? Is there someone who would like to speak on this issue?
The applicant's not here tonight.
Nothing being seen, we will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, is there any discussion? Yeah, Commissioner Barrow.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think I just have more of a comment than a question, Marzie, but I'm glad that somebody's looking to do something with this property because it's definitely a black eye. It looked like the jail with all the graffiti on it, when you're going down 220. But the question I do have a question for you. During the planning board hearing, it was stated that even though this is formally a conditional use, your office was not able to locate the prior file. Is that correct?
Right. The only thing we could locate was in '99 when they got a site plan amendment to add the canopy to the gas pumps. So the best we've been able to determine, it's been this way since 1988 and on. Of some sort was a store or something. I could not find any files in the paper.
So this isn't anything to knock on you because I'm sure this is long before you got here, but to avoid this issue in the future, because nobody's here tonight, but theoretically, if there's a list of conditional uses and then someone wants to amend that and then we don't know what the prior conditional uses were, that could be an issue. Yeah. So going forward, how do we prevent this from happening again?
Currently, our software houses everything, and we have a backup on our server here of every file that we produce. I put everything into the permitting software as well. We have a project set up in our software system, so it'll have all those files. We have the digital files, and we also set up new paper files. Our issue with our existing paper file system is it's based on PIN numbers, and the PIN numbers have changed over time, especially when you cut property or add onto it and things like that. And if we don't, the record keeping in the early 90s may not have been the best at the time. Since we found a lot of things since the 2000s, no problem. So some of those older files when zoning was still new, some of it's a little bit tricky, and we had to go back to the minutes. And it depends on how detailed the minutes were at that time. So moving forward, we've made different changes over the last decade before I got here too. Since I've got here, we've started putting all these into our software system that should we move to a new software system, should migrate those files to them as well. So we should always have at least 2 digital copies and 1 physical copy with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? With that, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Well, motion carries.
Thanks, y'all.
Mr. Wakely, congratulations if you're watching. With that, we'll move to Ms. Lindsay Pegg, Rockingham County TDA. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening. I think I have just one slide, if it'll come up. And if not, let me know. I'm not certain which one it was. So I'm here tonight to let you guys know, to kind of inform you all that Rockingham County TDA is partnering with the Resilient Trails Network, which is a 501c3 located in Rockingham County, to apply for grant funding through the Great Trail State Program for the construction of just over 25,000 feet, roughly 4.77 miles of multi-use trail at Hogan's Creek Park. For those not aware, Hogan's Creek Park is a 105-acre park located at 128 Stanley Road in Stokesdale. The property was acquired by Rockingham County in 2017 through a generous donation from Duke Energy. A master plan for the park was developed in 2018. I would say that it's the newest park trail system in the county, with construction on the first phase completed in 2023, and that was through partnerships with Dan River Basin Association, Round Rock Design, Nestle Purina, Duke Energy, and countless volunteer hours. If funded, so this proposal, if funded by the Great Trail State Program, the project requires a 25% match, which can be met through in-kind services. So Rockingham County TDA is requesting $20,000 from Rockingham County as a fee-for-service to the Resilient Trails Network. In that service, the Resilient Trails Network will recruit, coordinate, lead, and document the necessary volunteer hours required to meet the 25% in-kind match for the Great Trails State funding. This service will ensure that the county's obligations for matching the funds are met efficiently and in compliance with the grant requirements. Just a couple of things, and I think I spoke a couple of weeks ago on the importance of outdoor recreation, but just to reiterate, parks and trails make communities a better place to live by encouraging healthier lifestyles. Investment in our outdoor recreation sparks economic activity. It helps protect the environment and also increases tourism and visitor spending. Secondly, Hogan's Creek will continue to attract visitors. Right now, we have just around a half a mile of trail out there, a bathroom, and a shelter. So with this expansion, the park will continue to attract visitors to the area and promote outdoor recreation and contribute to the county's reputation as a destination for nature-based tourism. Lastly, the proposed trails will be suitable for a wide range of users. Like I noted that it's multi-use, meaning both hikers and bikers, particularly a diverse range of cycling skill levels. On the map that was sent over in the packet, you can see that there's both beginner trails along with moderate to expert level trails. The proposed trail will be suitable for beginners to expert riders and offer training and event opportunities. Trails such as what has been proposed will attract cyclists from Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and other counties and communities, including those folks from Virginia. It's a wonderful park. This is a great opportunity to take advantage of some funding that's available from the state. Any questions?
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Pegg. Gentlemen, any questions? Yes, Commissioner Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Lindsay, I don't know anything about building trails. I used to make trails in my backyard and in the woods, but I'm sure that's not the same thing we're talking about. So with this grant you're talking about, how much funding would be, based on our grant match, how much funding will we be receiving for this project?
In total, the total project cost is just over $300,000. So in trail terms, to kind of typically, when you look at cost estimate for building trails, you're looking anywhere from $10 to $15 a foot. So what we've budgeted, or what we've estimated, is $12 a foot for the trail system. So with that being just under 5 miles, that gets to about $304,000. And then in addition, the match would be 25% of that, which is $75,600. Which could be met with in-kind. That's the in-kind match.
The in-kind is the additional $50,000 or so, and then the TDA is going to put up 5. So the counties would only be required to provide 20.
And Also, the Resilient Trails Network did agree to maintain it for at least 3 years.
Right. So what you're looking is the fee-for-service is the $20,000 that I'm asking from the county to make sure that, to ensure that we meet that match, that in-kind match, which is in total is equal to $75,600. So yes. And yes, the Resilient Trails Network has committed to 3 years of maintenance of the trail, on the trail. So I should have probably said this, but it is you're looking at a 3-year project. So this is not a trail that's going to be built in 6 months to a year. This is going to be phased out through 3 years.
So it'll be maintained until it's finished.
Exactly.
And then at that point, who will be maintaining the trail?
And at that point, it's its own county-owned property. What I would suggest and what I've presented is that we kind of revisit, look at the trail builder, ask the trail builder, ask Resilient Trails to see if there's some type of agreement that we can enter into, with them to see what maintenance would look like. Typically with trails like this and the trail that's out there right now, it is a very sustainable trail, meaning that it requires little to no maintenance. Any big issues would be down trees and things like that, which easily working with our facilities department here to see if we could remove those. But since that trail's been up just over a year, there's been very little maintenance on that trail, thankfully. I mean, it's a well-built, well-designed trail.
And Lindsay, you gave us a stat, I'm afraid I don't have it in front of me. Last time you were here, you said that for tourism purposes and for income coming into the counties, for every dollar a county spends on a trail, it brings back how much revenue? Do you remember that number you gave me?
$1.72.
Okay, so if we're looking, $1.72 based on the $300,000 number, not the.
Are you getting ready to do math on me? Oh, goodness.
Basically, I was just going to say, it sounds like the 20,000 is going a long way.
It is. Yeah, so, because if you're looking at the cost to build trails these days, with the presentation, Tony McGee, he's with Round Rock Design. He actually designed and built the trail that's currently out at Hogan's Creek. Yes, I mean, you're thinking about the cost to put the trail down, but also just machinery and things like that. But yes, for $20,000, it's going to go quite a long way.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any other questions? Nothing heard. Well, can we entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. We look forward to seeing this new trail.
Fingers crossed that all goes well with the grant. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Mr. Manager, is there any new business?
No, sir.
All right, with that, we'll move to commissioner comments. Commissioner Barrow?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Early voting has started. Want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. North Carolina has seen record turnout so far, so please make sure you get out and exercise your rights. Also, just want to remind everybody that Reedsville has their the Everything Expo, which is their business expo. I think this is the 15th year they've had this going. That's going to be taking place on Thursday, October the 24th at the Penthouse from 2 to 7. So if you're interested in finding out about what kind of opportunities are out there, please stop by. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to take this opportunity to point out that Rockingham County has been the recipient of some money. It's what I call OPM, i.e. other people's money. In this case, this is $5 million coming through the PTRC, which will be earmarked for small businesses. So small businesses through our economic development department here in the county will be able to make application. This is for primarily technical things, but there are no particular limitations. So I hope if there are any small business or potential small business folks listening out there, get in touch with our economic development team. Also, there is a $2.2 million grant, and this will be ongoing from year to year from HUD resources, so federal money. And this will be spent by our consortium. We are a member of a consortium that is Caswell, Alamance, Rockingham, and Randolph counties. And this money is to be spent not necessarily collectively, but by our consortium board, which we will have 2 members on. Lance is working on that right now, to support any sort of housing improvement that we might need within the county. And this could be halfway houses, or it could be improvements for folks that have some substandard units. So OPM coming to Rockingham County through the good graces, in this case, of both the state and federal government. I'd like to recognize today Ronnie Tate, who is our primary engineer, and you can hear, though Ms. Pegg didn't mention it, Ronnie Tate is going to be the recipient of some tasks involved with this park and many other things. And his department has had a lot to do lately, all that blue pipe out there, monitoring contracts. Ronnie's been with us for quite a long time and has provided a great service, and he's very good about bringing expert help to us. I just want to take a moment to recognize Ronnie Tate. Those of you that know me know that I do not like trash, and I usually talk about trash on the road, and please don't do it and don't create messes. I have a little different angle. We're in the election season, and some people have said perhaps there's some trash out there in regards to how people are talking with each other with harshness and less than perfect candor and accuracy. And so I'd like to make an appeal to our residents that we can be kinder and gentler in the way that we deal with folks, especially during times when there are a lot of discussions and sometimes emotional discussions going on. I feel that kinder and gentler is more in keeping with the Rockingham County culture. So, Mr. Chair, with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Berger?
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming out. We did have a good turnout tonight and got a lot of business done. You know, do in life, as I mentioned earlier in this meeting, is really about people that you meet, people that you interact with, and certainly glad that we were able to bring a program to Rockingham County for the veterans, and that would not have been possible but for connections that I ended up having. That's how we ended up on the map, and then some people really worked hard, and I can't thank Tammy Howell enough for all of her efforts in securing that grant. It's going to be a tremendous program for our veterans, and I believe we've got about 6,000 veterans as far as in our county. So that is a significant program for them. You notice we all have pink on. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So just bringing awareness to those that suffer through breast cancer. At the last meeting, we had 2 people that are very connected with county government come and give their testimony. Although my wife didn't have breast cancer, she did have another kind of stage 4 cancer about, I guess, 16 years ago. So I understand the struggles that families go through, and certainly they need your prayers, need all the help they can get as they struggle with treatment and just the anxiety associated with waiting on appointments. I mean, it's something I'm glad that we're able to bring awareness to. It is election season. There is a lot of misinformation, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. As far as at the local level, if you want factual information as far as what has happened with county government, I would encourage the citizens to reach out to county administration. They have an obligation to hand over any county information and for it to be actually the public record. I would encourage anybody with questions or any rumors they're hearing to reach out to our county administration and get factual information. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Berger. Commissioner Powell?
So tonight, we'd like to recognize our Sheriff Sam Page for being here earlier, Phil Berger, Justice Phil Berger, Judge Chris Freeman, the Clerk of Court Abner Bullins, our local school board Philip Butler, and then Jason Woods with the Eden City Council. I too would like to say that I understand that it's election season, and I know that we all get, well, some people get really passionate about the election. We've heard in the last few weeks about the fact that we've defunded the sheriff, or we've cut the sheriff's budget. But as you can see tonight from the exchange between me and the sheriff and Commissioner Berger and the sheriff, that's just not true. His budget has increased by more than 50% in the last 6 years. And in addition to that, his capital needs are taken care of with other county money. So that doesn't come out of his budget either. We've committed ourselves early on when I got on this board to supporting law enforcement on every level. We did a resolution back in 2021 about defunding the police, and we were against it. We had that meeting up at Reidsville PD. So we're not going to do that. We are going to be stewards of the county tax dollars. We're going to spend them where they have to be spent. We're going to pay the bills, okay? We incur the bills. We're going to pay the bills. And we're not going to cut law enforcement or EMS or anything else. So I hope that you folks that are watching tonight understand that there are issues in some of our buildings, particularly our jail, and we're working very close with the sheriff, coming up with ideas on the ways that we can work on that and protect the assets of the county taxpayer without cutting anybody's money. And we haven't done that. We're not going to do that. We're committed to law enforcement. And so I hope that you will take the action that Commissioner Berger just mentioned. If you have questions about what the county government has done, what the county commissioners have done, and you want to call somebody besides the commissioner, then call county leadership, call the county manager. As Commissioner Berger said, they're obligated to give you the public record on that. So I believe that our budget is still listed online. You can go look that up yourself and see exactly where your tax dollars are being spent. And with that, I would say thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Well, again, I'd like to also thank the sheriff for being here tonight, have these open conversations. Some of the questions, some of the things are tough to talk about, but we need to deal with them. It's important. Public safety is very important. But I'd also like to thank Commissioner Richardson for his work on these committees. People don't know all the work that he does with the PTRC, with mental health boards, NCACC, and I can promise you that he was very helpful in securing this $7.2 million grant that we'll be receiving over the next several years. Additionally, I'd like to thank Commissioner Berger for his work. He didn't have to take this on, but he worked with these other folks, and they secured a $900,000 grant to get this program going. Again, they didn't have to do it, but they do, and they do it to benefit the public. So we appreciate you guys' efforts that are above and beyond the minimum that's required. So thank you very much. With that, I'll say our next meeting will be here November 4th at 6:30. So we hope you're able to be here, tune in or come. We appreciate it. With that, we will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion, second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Folks, we are adjourned. Thank you.